In this video, I'm going to tell you the 5 things you should not expect from your contractor. You see, when I first started as a real estate investor, I was constantly disappointed by the performance that I would get from almost any contractor that I hired. So much so that I ended up becoming a general contractor and starting my own construction company. And after years of frustration and experience, I learned that maybe the contractor wasn't the problem. Maybe it was me as the investor. Unfortunately, when us house flippers deal with contractors, we make a lot of assumptions about who is responsible for what. And in my experience, a lot of times those assumptions are wrong. The bigger problem yet is that when we're expecting that the contractor is responsible for those things, and they think that we're responsible for those things, that means that nobody is responsible for that thing. And that's how you end up getting a house painted lime green. Yeah, that actually happened. So here are the 5 things that you should not automatically expect that your contractor is responsible for. 1, understanding your vision. I can still remember standing in the kitchen of one of the first real estate investments I bought back in Denver. It was a nice B to A class neighborhood where all the other houses had granite or quartz countertops, nice shaker cabinets, stainless steel appliance packages, and subway tile backsplash. This was the biggest project that I had done yet, and I was gonna hire a contractor and I was gonna build a strong relationship based on trust. And I remember standing there with him and saying, "You just do whatever you think fits, man. You're the expert." Well, fast forward to several weeks later when I was standing in that kitchen remodeled and I was staring at the same old cabinets with a paint job, Formica countertops, white appliances, and 18 by 18 inch tiles that were cut off and used for the backsplash. The same ones that were used on the floor. In fact, they're the same ones I saw earlier that week at Home Depot on the end cap for 50 cents a foot. You need to realize that what a finished project for a real estate investor looks like versus most of the other projects that a contractor will take on is totally different. In fact, all projects are totally different, and the vision from one contractor to the next is never the same. If you leave any ambiguity in your plan and expect that a contractor will fill that gap, you are setting yourself up for disappointment. 2, be at the job site daily. You and the contractor have agreed upon the scope of work, you've agreed upon the price, and now it's game time. You're so pumped that you stop by the job site a couple days later just to see how the guys are doing. But where are they? I thought that after I hired them, they'd be here every day. Well, that's not how it works. These guys are independent contractors or 1099s. They're not the W-2 employees where you tell them where to be and when to do it. As long as they're hitting the checkpoints that hopefully you predefined, how they get there is none of your concern. 3, be a home inspector. Rewind to that same project back in Denver. A couple weeks into the project, the contractor calls me to tell me that the GFCIs in the kitchen weren't grounded properly and the hot water tank wasn't working. One of my first times dealing with a change order. I was livid. How the heck did he not notice those things when he came to bid the job? Is this guy trying to screw me over? Well, the answer is yes, actually he was, but not for those things. See, he's not a home inspector. He was giving me a bid based upon the scope of work that we had agreed upon. It's not necessarily his job to bring up all the other things. Maybe he thinks that I had a plan that I wanted him to carry out no matter what. Now, a great contractor will see some of those things and tell you if you have any gaps in your plan. But there are services out there that will be more aligned in helping you come up with a comprehensive scope of work. Just think about it. Contractors are keenly aware that they're always bidding against other contractors. So it's not really clear that it's in their best interest to find every single thing that you could do on a project from the start and then boost up their price. You'd probably pick the one that didn't do that. No, this doesn't apply to all contractors. If you're hiring somebody with a specialty license, like an electrician, you can expect a more thorough scope of work. 4, be an engineer or an architect. In the code book, there are tables that tell anybody building anything exactly what size headers, beams, or girders they should be using and what should be holding them up. Those tables only go so far. Anything beyond that requires load calculations based on the exact scenario that you're in. That is the job of a licensed engineer, not a contractor. If you're doing the type of project that requires large structural changes and/or layout changes, you need to have plans turned into the city to get your permits. This usually needs to be done by a licensed architect, most likely in tandem with an engineer. Two things to note here. One is if you have hired one of these professionals, they're the boss now. The contractor is going to do exactly what they say, even if it's wrong. Two, this is why I avoid these types of projects. Costs soar. 5, being your admin. Do you have a spreadsheet that you downloaded online to help you be able to manage your contractor? Do you have a hard money loan that requires a bid in a specific format for you to be able to be released money? Well, that's your problem, not your contractors. They have their way of doing business, and let them do it that way. You want their bandwidth focused on other things than your administrative tasks, like delivering a great construction project. Take this all with a grain of salt. There's always a balance. Over time, you will find contractors who, after a few projects, understand the vision that you have for the properties that you buy. They'll start making you aware of potential issues and change orders that they foresee. Heck, they may even start writing their bids a little bit differently to be more convenient for your processes. Now, the reason that you want to be extra conscientious of the 5 things that you should not expect is so that you can take the things that really do matter and your contractor really should be responsible for and set very clear expectations and therefore hold ruthless accountability to them. Here are those 3 things. 1 is delivering the scope of work exactly like you discussed and agreed upon in writing. 2 is delivering the project fully completed on or before the timeline that you agreed upon, unless otherwise communicated prior to that date. 3, any job they do must be able to pass a codes inspection. Remember, this industry is tough, and it's just as tough for your contractor. The more that you can align, the more that you will both have successful and profitable organizations, and that is how long-term relationships are formed.